Hey team, welcome back. Things are getting really exciting, and I can't wait for when we actually go to the security piece. That's going to be a lot of fun, but anyway, I don't want to get ahead of myself. So now what we want to do, if I bring my little PowerPoint again, now what we want to do, so we're here. This is where we are at in our use case. We're able to send a project object to the SpringBoot API. We sent a good project object, so we were just redirected to dashboard. Now, at the current state of our application, if we actually send a bad project object or invalid data, we should be getting the errors object. And then at this point, the project actions is going to dispatch our errors reducer or the get errors action, which is going to trigger our errors reducer to actually get the errors payload and put it in the store. So right now, this is where we should be. Okay, right now, if we send an invalid project object, we should get our errors in our store. And this is going to be a really good test of our catch errors portion of our action. Then what we're going to work on in this video is to actually, now that we're connected to the store, then we want to map our errors object in the store with our errors object in the component, which we haven't done yet. And then we're going to set the new state of our errors object, and then we're going to display our errors on our component. All right, so this is going to be also a lot of fun. But first, let's make sure that we're here, because at this point, we should be right here, in which we have our errors in our application state. So if we go back to our app, and we are here in the create project form, and actually, I apologize because I already tried it. But anyway, I'm just going to run my app again. No push. Sorry. You know what? This is what you get when you're being lazy, right? npm start. Just type it, man. Seriously. Okay, sorry about that, folks. All right, so now it's gonna load, and now we're here, and as you can see, because and actually I want to go back to this real quick. In the index.js, in the reducers folder, we declared the errors reducer here in the combined reducers, right? And the combined reducers is the main reducer that goes into our store, okay? And remember, in the errors reducer, the initial state of our errors reducer is empty, okay? So this is why we are getting an empty errors object here. Okay, I think that if I put something here like a test, I think it should work. I think maybe not, or maybe test error. If I put this here in the initial state, it should go onto our state, and there you have it, right? So basically, and this was something that took me a little while to understand. Basically, we have our error reducer at the reducer's meeting place, right? Which in turn is what we have in our store, right? When we have our store, we actually pass the root reducer, which is this index.js, in the reducers folder. Not this one right here, the one in the reducers folder that takes our reducer here and takes whatever we send to our reducer, which is in our project actions. If we have errors, then what we're going to send there is the payload with the errors that we're going to get from our backend whenever we have problems. Okay? Whenever we have problems. So if I go here and type and try and send garbage, this is what should go into our application state. Exactly this. All right. And I think we're already in a good position to say that we're there. I'm just gonna go clean this up because I'm pretty sure that this is super clear right now. And what we're gonna do again is try and send garbage or send something that's blank, and we should have in the state here, we should have this being filled up with our errors, with the same errors that we got in Postman. And there it is. Isn't this great? And the problem that we have in the console is the same 400 error that we got in Postman when we were trying to send garbage. So far, so good. Now, what we want to do is actually the same thing that we have in the app that we have in Heroku, which is to actually see the errors here. The first step that we're going to take towards that is to map our state to props. Okay? And give me just a moment here because I am going to make sure that I open my notes. Again, I do want to be very, very methodical with this so you guys really learn this stuff. We're going to close some of these things because another thing that happens to me a lot is that I think I'm working on one file and I'm actually working on the other. So I need to close all those windows down so I don't make those mistakes. So first thing that we're going to do is we're going to use or create the following object, and it's called map state to props. Okay, and then this is going to take the parameter state. Okay, this actually takes the state of our application and what we're going to do is that we're going to link errors to state.errors. And again, this state.errors literally comes from, again, go to your Redux DevTools, go to state, submit state.errors. I hope this is super clear because I literally had to explain this to myself when I first learned React. Okay, so now we're mapping this to our component props. Okay, cool. So now that we have that, then we need to make sure that we also declare this as a prop type, and this is of type object and is required. Again, this makes sure that you not only have the prop that you need, but also that it's the right type. Create project is a function. If I put object here, I think our application is going to break, or at some point it's going to break, I promise you, because it's a function, it's not an object. And if I put function here, at some point our app is also going to break. But I really don't want to get into that right now. Just trust me, you need to make sure that you have the right type here. All right, so now that we have this in place, now we need to make two more changes so that we can actually extract the errors from our state, right? Because basically what's happening, and this is going to give you a lot of context on the next thing that we're going to do, is that basically what happens is that when we do this, although we have the errors in our state, we need to receive those new props, right? There are new props in the state that we need to grab from the state and put it onto our component and receive it in our component. And for this, we're going to use a lifecycle hook. And I believe this is the first lifecycle hook that we're going to use. And this comes from React. And I really recommend, if you want to learn more, read up on lifecycle hooks. Because remember, this is a practical project. We're only learning about the things that we need to build this application. And the lifecycle hook that we're going to use, this component will receive props. And actually has a little explanation here. Called when the component may be receiving new props. React may call this even if props have not changed. Okay? So basically, when we have errors because this failed, because the submit failed, we have new props coming, which is that errors object that we actually declared in our prop types. Okay, so component will receive props, and this takes a parameter, which is next props. This is how I learned it, and I think it's super awesome. Now, what we're gonna do here is another thing. Now, in the state of our component, we need to have an errors object so that we can actually extract the errors onto our form. This errors object, just like the reducer, is going to be empty, because at the very beginning, when we load the component, we don't have any errors, right? We don't have errors until we submit the application with wrong data, and then at that point we want to fill this up, and that's what a component will receive props is going to do for us, right? And what we're going to do is that if next props has errors, if there are errors in our next props, if there are changes in the state, then we're going to use this.setState and then grab our errors object in the component, and we're going to load it with the new props.errors. Okay, and we're going to load it with those errors that we are getting. With this in place, now all we need to do is actually extract those errors in our and actually I'm going to get rid of all of this because we don't need this anymore. This is just like in the way. Just get rid of those comments. That's all I did. I got rid of the comments. Okay, now in the render function right above the return, we're going to use this structuring to get the errors from the state. And we're going to do const errors. And again, this structuring is a ES6 topic, not a React specific topic, although we're using this, we're going to be using this heavily. We're going to get this from there. And then I think that the first thing that I want to do is perhaps do like an H1 and actually put the errors here. I don't know how that's, oh no, hold on. Sorry, I should have put that on the actual JSX. What am I doing? H1, and then if there are errors, we are going to put the errors there. Okay, so okay, let me see what is it that is not liking. Huh. Just a moment, because I'm not really sure what's going on here. Oh, I think that it cannot just take that object there. Let me just try something real quick without by me staying quiet. Okay, cool. So what happens is that it cannot grab the errors. It has to grab a very specific errors. It cannot just load up the entire object. Okay, and we're gonna just take one by one. So right now, what I'm doing here is that I'm putting an H1 and I am extracting the errors from the project name. So remember from our postman, this actually tells us project name, there's a problem with the project name, this is a problem with the identifier, it's a problem with the description based on the field that is missing. So the same extraction we can do here, we're just going to get the error from the project name when we fail to pass it a project name. Okay? So now let's just go ahead and try this again. And if we submit, we have the errors here. And I was kind of expecting that it would have loaded that on the form. Let me just try that again. For some reason, it's not loading that there. But the good thing is that at this point, we're able to actually extract this. So let me just make sure that I didn't make any mistakes on how I wired this up. I think this is okay. Let me just think for a second, you guys. I apologize for this. To be honest, I never tried this this way before. So I'm just gonna go ahead and try it the way I know how to wire it instead of me swinging it. which is I shouldn't have done. And what I'm going to do here is, let me just try one more time because I'm still hell-bent that this should work. Just a moment. I still think that this should work the way I have it here. I'm pretty sure it should, but I could be wrong because, to be honest, I've never tried this before. I was just like, you know what, this should just be a quick way of setting this up. And I'm just gonna change this as a p tag, and I think I'm just gonna leave this lecture at here. Let me see what's going on here. Okay, so we have a warning here. The prop errors is marked as required, but it's undefined. Ah, I know why. Actually, my mistake. And again, lots of moving pieces. And this is the only thing that I do have to say about React and Redux. There's a lot of moving parts. When you connect your application to the application state, you need to map the state to props, and you need to pass that as a parameter when you are connecting this. Okay, so basically what this is doing is that this is where I'm declaring that the errors object needs to be connected to the state.errors, and when we connect that, that's why I need to pass that as a parameter here. So when we're connecting this to the application state, we can actually extract it from there. And now with this in place, our little experiment should work. And there you have it. Project name is required. All right. And actually, if I do this for the other errors that we're getting, because if we go here, we're also getting the identifier and the project name. If I do exactly the same, then we should see those errors as well. And don't worry, because we're actually going to do something that is way neater than that ugly p tag that I'm passing there. But at this point, I just want to get to a state where I'm extracting the errors properly whenever we have issues. And we're actually getting this from our Redux store. So this is a really good, really important moment in our development. Come on. And good. And if I go and do this, then we're getting this. If I pass it a name, then we only get an error. Here, if I pass it valid ID 2, then we only get the error in the project description. And if I pass it the description, then it should create that. And again, we're even getting this already exists because we already passed this one in the previous lecture because I didn't restart my server. And there you have it. So we're still able to even create a new project. And actually, let me reconnect. And there it is. Perfect. Everything's working great. So in the next section, we're going to style this a little better. This is really ugly. And we're going to style it so that it looks just like it looks in our application in Heroku. Thank you very much, guys. Good stuff. Great work. If you get confused, if you get lost, if this is not working for you, rewatch the lecture. And if you want to take a shorter route, then just make sure that you refer to the commit in the latest branch, and that'll take you step by step to all the changes that I performed in this lecture. Thank you again.